Well, the hurricane that I was going on about was Lorenzo at first, and then I looked at Melissa, and I looked at Lorenzo, and Melissa and Lorenzo, and then I thought, I don't think it's either of them. Lorenzo's a brat. Melissa might be the one who spanks Lorenzo, something like that, because Melissa means honeybee, you know, the bee, sting like a bee. And then I was like, Gabriel. Gabriel. That's the one, Gabriel. It's the shadow of God. So I've been on about Gabriel a lot, heaps, endlessly. Gabriel, Michael, archangels, but Gabriel is not Gabriel. Gabriel is the shadow of God. That's what I've been saying. And a lot of other things. And then it's Dorian that is threatening now. Dorian, one I never looked at. I never thought about Dorian. But Dorian is threatening Florida. I was talking about Jacksonville in relation to Gabriel. So let's listen to this. This is a really good report by Tom Sater. Very good.
This is very much, we've heard people talking, just walking by a woman today at the sandwich shop. I heard her talking over the phone saying, oh, it's a category 4, it's a category 4. So it's very much being taken seriously in terms of how closely they're monitoring it, but they're still waiting to see where this heads.
Yeah, I was down there in Tampa and Orlando for Irma. They were very lucky. Hopefully this time as well. Thanks so much, Layla. Good to see you, Layla Santiago there. As I promised, Tom Sater is joining us now. He's tracking Dorian, got the latest forecast, and that's the thing. You don't know how strong or where.
This storm, since the very beginning of its inception here, has been playing games with us. In fact, a couple of days ago, we thought it would hit Hispaniola, and it missed by hundreds and hundreds of kilometers. Visual satellite imagery, losing the sunlight as it sets. Watch the white puffy clouds. Those are thunderstorms. So even though there's power in the center, gives you an idea of the tremendous thunderstorms trailing back down to the south. You can see it on the infrared satellite imagery. See it all the way down toward Puerto Rico. I expect our Category 1 to become a Category 2 in a matter of hours. But on that tail end, thunderstorms are flooding now parts of Puerto Rico. Much more rain than they had yesterday when the eye was just off to the northeast of San Juan. So they're not out of this just yet. Now, where's this going to go? Everybody wants to know, where's it going to make landfall? Do not trust anyone who will tell you, I know, because they don't. This has been changing every day for the last several days, and we have 4 to 5 more to go. The cone of uncertainty is the important factor here, from Key West all the way up to Georgia. Actually include the Carolinas with this, because there have been some changes that are major. First and foremost, yesterday was going to make landfall as a Category 3, but it had such a large amount of ocean at Category 3, we're not surprised that it's lifted now to a Category 4. The warm jet stream here just really can intensify a storm like it did with Hurricane Andrew, which, by the way, was the last time major hurricane made landfall on the east coast of Florida. This will be the second if it makes landfall in Florida. I know you look at this and you're like, well, how could it not? Here's why. 2 big concerns with this system here. Even though the models look like they're in agreement, my first concern is the angle of approach. Coming in from the east and making impact at a perpendicular angle. It disperses and really hits more with an impact. We saw that last year with Michael in Mexico Beach. We had that with Andrew in Homestead, 1992. And Gene, look at Gene, comes in from the east. We've only had 2 in history that really have come in just as a perpendicular angle instead of hitting on an angle, instead of right in. European model is in yellow. That has dropped to the south, and it is put on the brakes. That's the other concern here. When these systems put on the brakes, you see the U.S. model, where it is now, and look where this one is. Yesterday, European was up in Florida. Why is that important? When they put on the brakes, anything goes. You've got 4 or 5 days now for the steering currents to make up their mind. When this puts on the brakes, those steering currents are changed. Michael, this ball game could be played in anyone's backyard, and that's why every day is so important to watch exactly where this thing may make landfall. Just don't know yet. Tricky storm.
Yeah, that cone of uncertainty is massive. Covers the whole state. Tom Sater, thanks, my friend.
Sure.
All right. I'll come up to real time now and just see where it lands, because sometimes it's weird if the spirits want to communicate something like a warning. If it's Dorian, I can't warn for Dorian. He's already happening. He's a tricky boy. So if Dorian's going to do something tricky, well, he's going to do something tricky. And we'll just have to wait and see what his trick is. I got a feeling, though, I had a feeling yesterday, and I still got it today, that Dorian is a messenger. Dorian is the DJ. So the DJ plays the music. The music is the messenger. And it's when I've been listening to Peter Gabriel and Florence and the Machine. Key songs. Red Rain by Peter Gabriel and No Light, No Light by Florence and the Machine. That's when I've had the feeling really strong that the storm to watch is Gabrielle. When I say the storm to watch, it's the storm to be scared of. Gabrielle is terrifying. That's what I said. Terrifying. She's a monster. And I said Jacksonville in Florida. And the hurricane I was thinking of was Hugo. It's going to make landfall south of where Hugo made landfall back in 1989. So Dorian as a messenger. What do you think? Dorian the DJ. And the DJ has been demonized. He's a demonized DJ Dorian. And he's a tricky boy. Dynamic. Dynamic Dorian. Okay. Lifetime.
Look at the times. Huge difference here, John. Monday at 8 p.m. versus Wednesday at 8 a.m. You're almost talking a 48-hour difference for the two models here in terms of landfall timing. And that could be substantial too, because the longer it takes, the more likely it is to sit over Florida and be much slower to exit out of the region.
That's a huge difference in timing. I don't think I've ever seen that before. So, Allison, a lot of times when we do talk about these storms, it's important not only what category they are, when they hit, but also how long it takes them to break up. As you were saying there, do you have any idea what...
Okay, that's where we came into Lifetime. Let's rewind and watch this report because it looks kind of interesting.
CNN gained rare access to the island to see the shocking toll of our daily habits. They just seem to be following us wherever we go.
Dolphins.
Foster in London, and this is CNN.
The DJ is from London. His name is DJ Ming. Yiming Yuan from London is in jail in Singapore. He's the demonized DJ in jail. He's dreaming. He's the messenger. Dorian the DJ.
John Berman here in for Anderson. That combination is now a growing possibility for Hurricane Dorian, a path that maximizes both the number of people in harm's way and the fuel it feeds on. For that reason, we have live coverage from one of the highest risk areas tonight, but we begin with new storm data from the National Hurricane Center just in, and CNN meteorologist Allison Chinchar. Allison, tell us the latest.
All right, so let's take a look at what we've got. Current statistics with the storm: winds are 85 miles per hour sustained. That forward movement is to the northwest at 13 miles per hour. We had not one, but three different Hurricane Hunter planes out investigating this storm at one point in time. That first one has now finally begun to exit and head back home. It was actually an all-female pilot crew there. That one was checking out the upper level environment. That really helps us determine the steering. Where is this storm going to go? The two missions that are out there right now, those reconnaissance missions are taking a look at the center of the storm. Is it intensifying? Is it getting stronger? Those types of things. That data should be in shortly, and that's really going to give us an idea of whether or not this storm is actually getting stronger. Is it a Category 2? Could it be getting even stronger than that? Here's a look at the track. We still expect this to be a major hurricane, likely getting to that point in just about 24 hours from now. And John, we are still looking at the potential for a Category 4 at landfall in Florida.
In Florida, still looking at Monday, Tuesday landfall. What's the timing there? And I know there is some difference in the models.
Right, there is, and there's quite a discrepancy, actually. So let's take a look. So the different model runs that we have, it's shifted quite a bit. The American model was originally favoring further into North Florida, and now it's begun a little bit of a shift farther south. So let's take a look. The American model is on the left. The European model is on the right. Notice the landfall point. They're really starting to come together in where they think the landfall will be. Most likely that south central portion of the state. But look at the times. Huge difference here, John. Monday at 8 p.m. versus Wednesday at 8 a.m. You're almost talking a 48-hour difference for the two models here in terms of landfall timing. And that could be substantial too, because the longer it takes, the more likely it is to sit over Florida and be much slower to exit out of the region.
That's a huge difference in timing. I don't think I've ever seen that before. So, Allison, a lot of times when we do talk about these storms, it's important not only what category they are, when they hit, but also how long it takes them to break up. As you were saying there, do you have any idea what path this storm might take after it makes landfall?
Right, so what you tend to look at then is let's look at how much rain is going to drop. Does that start to move out pretty quick? Because we all know, we learned from Harvey, we learned from Florence, that the longer the storm can sit over the area, the more rain it can dump. Here's a look at one of those models. Again, notice the stretch. The highest amount of rain, you're talking in excess of 10 to 20 inches of rain. Notice how widespread this is. I mean, you're talking about an area from Fort Lauderdale all the way up to Jacksonville. This really does signal to us that, yes, it has the potential to sit here for an extended period of time before it can get picked up in some other atmospheric phenomenon and then finally take it out. So, yes, it is not out of the question for this to make landfall and essentially sit in place for a little while before it finally exits.
All right, Allison Chinchard, thank you for that information. I know you're getting more data. Please keep us posted. This takes on even more resonance when you consider it was 14 years ago today that Hurricane Katrina came ashore. And one legacy, one of the few positive things to come out of what was for so many people such a terrible experience, is the idea that no hurricane should ever be taken lightly. A state of emergency is now in effect in all of Florida's 67 counties, and preparations underway across the state, including in Port Canaveral along the Space Coast. CNN's Leila Santiago there for us now. Leila, how concerned are residents at this point? What are you hearing?
You know, of those that I've talked to, they are very quick to say, listen, it is still very early, but we are keeping a close eye. We are monitoring. And often I've heard people say, I was here for Hurricane Irma. I remember it, and I don't want to see something like that again. So that tends to be the response from residents and businesses. Today, we spoke to one hotel manager who said that she was concerned over all the cancellations that she's already received, said that she'll take about $120,000 loss because it's Labor Day weekend, so she was expecting a lot of folks to come in and stay at her hotel for the long weekend. She was counting on this for her business. That is changing already. So for businesses, especially here at the port where we are right now, they're already expecting to see changes in tourism.
How else is the community preparing? And I asked this, Leila, because I was actually surprised to see video of long gas lines already.
Right. Well, the first thing I noticed when I got here was the fact that many stores are already limiting the amount of water that people can buy. I spoke to the folks over at the city of Cocoa Beach, and they tell me tomorrow they're going to bring in 2 truckloads of sand so that folks can make their own sandbags and prepare. And I've also seen that they have waste management out and about, picking up any tree branches or anything that could become dangerous debris should this storm make landfall here. So people are already preparing. I do hear quite a few mentioning what I said earlier, that it's early, but every single person that I've asked, what is your biggest concern? They say a direct hit is the big concern.
And now is the time to get ready. Leila Santiago, thank you so much for being there for us. I appreciate it. President Trump tweeted about the storm today, and it was quite a contrast from his remarks when Puerto Rico was in harm's way. He trashed the Commonwealth, as you will recall, and here's what he said about Florida. Hurricane Dorian looks like it will be hitting Florida late Sunday night. Be prepared and please follow state and federal instructions. It will be a very big hurricane, perhaps one of the biggest. The president did cancel a trip to Poland so he could better monitor the storm. Joining us now is Ben Malek. He's the mayor of Cocoa Beach, where Leila mentioned they are now getting ready. Mayor Malek, it was just 2 years ago that Hurricane Irma slammed into Cocoa Beach, causing a lot of damage to that community, even tearing the roof off your police department. So what concerns you most about this storm?
Well, obviously the storm, good evening, is these things have a mind of their own. So if you look at the models that are kind of all over the board, unfortunately, we have learned, for those of us that have been in Florida for quite some time, it's best to prepare for the worst and pray for the best.
that is the best course of action, and prepare now when you still have time? What is your community doing to get ready for Dorian?
You bet. Absolutely. Now's the time to get supplies, have your hurricane kit ready, you know, have some flashlights if you lose power, which is quite a good scenario. Floridians that have been here a while are pretty well versed in this drill. You know, a lot of folks have generators that'll power up your grid. A little window. August in Florida is quite steep.
All right, Mayor Malek, you know, we're having audio problems. We appreciate you trying to join us tonight, but I know the message you're trying to send to your people is get ready now. Use today, use tomorrow, get the supplies you need. And your experience in Hurricane Irma 2 years ago taught you that preparedness is the best course of action. Mayor, thank you very much. Next up for us, President Trump accused of leaking classified information of breaking the law.
So let's come back to real time. Maybe I'll record this.
Mysteries behind the continent you thought you knew. An eclectic wine farm prides itself on sustainability and diversity.
We are custodians of a piece of land. We're here to leave it in a better space than when we found
Sky
it.
News weather, Aussie weather.
In Victoria, and what a beautiful way to start Thursday. The next one, just on the border of the ACT and New South Wales, you can see some wispy clouds in the sky, but they are looking a little bit darker at the bottom there. You are set for a sunny weekend ahead, and Sydney side is seeing a bit of a windy and
Queanbeyan's
a very
half
wet
an hour
day.
from where I live.
It's another wet day on the cards for Friday, but easing by the time we get to Saturday and Sunday. If you want to share your photos and videos with us and show us what the weather is looking like where you are, you know we love to see them. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and also Instagram, and you can also use the hashtag SkyWeatherOz.
Gotta see. Gamble responsibly.
Okay, that's weird. Queanbeyan, the place that was mentioned there, is only half an hour from where I live. Queanbeyan, as in Queen, Bee, Anne, was the name of a racehorse. Anne was the name of a cyclone. A late season cyclone in Australian waters. Very late, out of season, end of season cyclone. Nothing much, just a category 1. Anne meant that we had 10 cyclones, I think, instead of 9. My laptop, like a mirror, until I do this. So, spanking. Why is that a good analogy for hurricane? Spanking and storm chasing. What do they have in common? Adrenaline. Adrenaline junkies. Drug addicts. You can be a natural drug addict. Adrenaline, dopamine. Dorian, the dopamine addict. Dorian, the drug addict. Why am I talking about drug addicts? Because the DJ was a drug addict. He was addicted to the illegal kind of drugs. Horses, see? I said when the spirits want to communicate something, they will. Horses reminds me Queanbeyan. Cyclone Anne was late season cyclone. Like I was saying. Maybe it would even come up if I Google it. Maybe not, it was such a non-event. But that's how it was spelt. Anne with no E. Cyclone Anne. That could be it. Yeah, May 2019. So, out of season. That's the one. Cyclone Anne. Tropical Cyclone Anne. So it was nothing much, except it reminded me, the name Anne reminded me of Queen Bee Anne. The Queen Bee stings repeatedly, it doesn't die. The name Melissa means honeybee. So that's why I was looking at Melissa at the beginning. Melissa, honeybee. So this was late season, out of season, up north. 2 days, 7 hours, 29 minutes since Steamboat Geyser erupted. Something else I talk about is Steamboat Geyser in Wyoming. I said a red eruption of Steamboat Geyser is gonna send a warning. A red eruption of Steamboat Geyser. RED 18 plus 5 plus 4. So changing the letters into numbers, red equals 27. There was an eruption of Steamboat Geyser on the 27th. It erupted 2 days, 7 hours ago, and 29 minutes. It is the 29th now in the USA. Anne was there at this eruption of Steamboat Geyser. David was there. Nathan's middle name. I talk about Jake Wetterling and Nathan Breeze. Nathan's middle name is David. Erin. I've talked about Erin. Why? Because Erin was a cyclone. Erin is on the name list. Erin is a tropical storm that just formed 2 days ago. Erin right after Dorian. But Erin was just a tropical storm, a weak one. But the name is there. Erin was at the Steamboat eruption. The one I said was going to be the warning sign for Gabrielle. Nathan Breeze, born on the 24th of November, 24/11. 11:24 is there. The time, 11:24. Red is 27. It happened on the 27th. The time was 47 past. The value of smack. Smack equals 47. Blonde is 47. Blonde. Anne is there. Anne was there. And she was a dirty girl. North Vent, dirty girl. The red eruption of Steamboat Geyser. Red. Red Rain by R.L. Stein. It's also a novel. The novel by R.L. Stein. It's also a song by Peter Gabriel. Jake is 27. Jacob is 31. Jake, 27. Jacob, 31. Jake, Jacob. Bad is 7. Jake is 27. Bad Jake. Jake, Jacob. Nathan Breeze is 119. Masochistic is 119. Attractive is 119. A masochistic bad boy who is into spanking. Adrenaline junkie. Dorian, a tricky boy. I've been talking about Jacksonville since the beginning. Jacksonville in Florida. Named after Andrew Jackson. Hurricane Andrew was in 1992, they said. And Andrew. Okay, so let's look at the tropical cyclone name list. Melissa is on the name list. Melissa means honeybee. Tropical cyclone. Name list 2019. Names of 2019. List of tropical cyclone names for 2019. Which one should we look at? I reckon we go with... So that's just going to be Australia. National Hurricane Center. List of tropical cyclone names. Wikipedia is what I'm after. We might check this one out. Tropical cyclone names. This is 2019. This list here. Melissa is on there, see? Melissa means honeybee. Lorenzo means from Laurentum, Italy. An Italian connection. Imelda replaces Ingrid, retired in 2013. Erin, I mentioned Erin. She's already formed, she's been. The next name on the name list is Fernand. And then Gabrielle. Gabrielle is the one I've been talking about the most. Gabrielle. Barry became a hurricane right before landfall. Dorian is the one where everyone's talking about Dorian now. I'm saying Dorian is a messenger. Gabriel, the messenger angel of God, archangel. A red eruption of the Steenberg geyser. That's what I said. I never thought of it happening on Tuesday the 27th. I just said it's a red eruption. The north vent erupted dirty. Doesn't say it was red, but it was dirty. I had a feeling on that. And the fact that it happened on the 27th and it was dirty was enough for me. I also had a dream as this eruption was happening. The eruption happened probably an hour, 2 hours before my dream. It was on Monday, the 26th. Am I thinking of the right dream? Monday the 26th of August. Yeah, well that was the day. Wait a minute. Was that the day? I've had a few dreams. So I'm just thinking, is that... Yeah, that was the dream of the Indian boy. He said he was about 10. He had black hair, dark eyes. And he said I could do worse than to consider this coming Thursday, the 29th. Black is 29. The word black has a value of 29. It is Thursday the 29th of August now in the United States. Black, 29, Ann, A-double-N, 1 plus 14 plus 14 is 29. Queen Bee Anne, a racehorse. A messenger. A Greek connection. Racehorses, who do I think of? I think of Jay. Jay, the first guy I ever kissed. Jay, he rode horses. He was Greek. A Greek boy. My name is Greek. Philip means lover of horses. Dorian somehow reminds me of horses. I don't know why, it just does. When I think about it. It just does. It's been 12.9 degrees in Sydney all day. 10 degrees in Canberra. Exactly 10 degrees. 12.6. 9.4. What equals what? Bad Mirror Man is 126. Bad Mirror Man. Who is that? Is that Lorenzo? Is it Dorian? Is it Martin? Martin's birthday is coming on September 6th. A week from now. Friday, September 6th. Martin was born on a Friday. Jake was born on a Friday. Nathan was born on Friday, the 24th. 24th of November. Friday the 13th is coming. Dorian, the DJ, messenger. Fantasies, 94. So forget about the decimal point. Just 94 as a number is the value of fantasies. Discipline is 100. So he's into spanking. He's a boy who's into discipline, which is unusual. Which is why he's disciplined. He's a disciplined athlete. So he's not going to bring the mass destruction. He's going to warn of mass destruction. When I say mass destruction, I mean scary, violent, killer destruction. That is coming. I know it's coming because that is the reflection of what happened to the DJ in Singapore. And it's going to be reflected in the weather. That's what I've been saying. That's all I know. It's what I know. It's all I know. Is it Dorian? I don't think so, because Dorian is the DJ. He's the messenger. The shadow of God. What is the shadow of God? Who is the shadow of God? Okay, let's look at who the DJ actually is. I said Dorian the DJ. What's his name? Yiming Yuan. Yiming Yuan. This will give you a little bit of an idea of who he is. If I just flick through here, you can see the headlines. You can see what it says. If I go to news, different stories. No, nothing. See? Nothing. Nothing comes up. Not in the news. No one cares about the DJ. I guess that's why he's dreaming. Dreaming after being tortured. By government, by judiciary. Sentenced to Category 5 caning by a judge in Singapore and 20 years jail. A guy who was basically a loving guy. Let's go to images. Images. So you can see his face. See the face of the DJ. What's he dreaming? Well, what can you dream? What can you dream after being the victim of torture inflicted by government? And then you're in the captivity of your torturers. You're in their clutches for 20 years. What kind of life is that? And is that fair punishment for buying and selling drugs? He was buying drugs and selling them to the people in Singapore who introduced him to drugs. Zero tolerance policing. I did an assignment on that once. Demonization, religious demonization of people is often behind torture. Strangely enough, he gave himself a pair of devil horns in a photo, probably on Instagram. I don't know where this comes from. Interesting. If you save this image, it gets saved as Satan Loving Boy. Satan Loving Boy. The DJ. Dorian. I was talking about Jacksonville. The thought of Jacksonville came from thinking about Hurricane Hugo in 1989. Hurricane Hugo. A storm in 1989. It made landfall exactly 1 month before Jake was kidnapped. So maybe that's why Jake is connected to the DJ, an abduction victim of a slightly different kind, of a worse kind, Jake says. Hey, at least I left. I'm not stuck there for 20 years in the company of my kidnappers. That'd be so bad. 29, black. What's interesting about that? Black. Jake is 27, boy is 42. Bad is 7, fire is 38, ocean is 38. Bad fire, bad ocean. The hurricane is 130. Nathan was born in 1995. 95 is the value of what? It's Halloween. Halloween, 1995. Nathan's year of birth, 1995. Storm Boy is 127. Punishment is 139. Angel is 39. Angelic Boy is 93. Demon Boy is 93. You should be careful who you demonize and judge. Still 12.9 in Sydney. You should be careful who you demonize and judge. Dorian the DJ. Because you never know who it is. When you demonize someone as Satan or Lucifer, and then you find out, well, when he's not being naughty, he's actually Gabriel. He's the archangel. When he's not naughty, he's Gabriel. 831. It's Jake's life path number, 8, and the value of his name, 31. Okay, well that's this year's name list. I thought to look, when was Gabriel last around? When was she around last? Like, when was she? What's her previous incarnations, if there have been any? So I had a look. I put in Hurricane Gabriel. This was just on my phone the other day. Hurricane Gabriel. And I thought, well, you know what came up? The first thing I saw was a news story from September 6, 1989. It was the New York Times. I've been talking about Friday the 13th anyway, because it's the same calendar year this year as 2002. What's special about 2002? Oh, well, the boy, Martin, Friday, September 6th, is his birthday. He was born in 2002. He's turning 17. That's what's special about September 6th. That's why I've been looking at September 6th. And then Friday the 13th is the following Friday. What's special about this date, today? It's the moon. The moon. Moon phases. That's what's special about today. Moon phases. 0.3%. There is no light. No light. In your bright blue eyes. I never knew daylight could be so violent. No Light by Florence and the Machine. New moon. It's the supermoon. It's the black moon. And it's 37 minutes past the hour. This one is 37 minutes past. 37, the value of bulb. The value of hell. Hell. Bulb. 37. 37 could be a clue. 37. I said Kinglake West equals 137 and 173 people died in that disaster. Oslo. See, 233 is the value of Jacob Erwin Wetterling. And Wetterling can be a name from Sweden, Norway, that part of the world. But in Jake's case, it's German. So let's go to Wyoming, where the Steamboat Geyser is. There's a lot of things coming together, so what to talk about is hard to know. Actually, let's go to London. That's where the DJ's from. He was born in London. He is English. Who would have thought an English guy, a former resident of England, would find himself strapped to a wooden trestle and being caned with Category 5 intensity in Singapore in 2019? 51 is the number I've talked about because it's the value of the name Hugo. What I found weird was that Gabriel was a 1989 hurricane. 1989 was the year of Hugo. I've known about Hugo for a long time. There was also Gabriel in 2001. She formed on September 11, the same day that the Twin Towers came down in New York. So in some ways, Gabriel is a name connected already to mass destruction through coincidence, coincidental timing. Know what I mean? 1989, Abduction equals 89. No changes, no changes. 95. Nathan was born in 95, 6 years after Jake left this world. So they didn't know each other in this world. They didn't know Yiming Yuan, but they're connected. Because Yiming Yuan is a boy of Gabriel. So is Jake. So is Nathan. And Gabriel is sending a message. His boy is dreaming in his prison cell after being tortured. Yiming Yuan. Wikipedia. Let's check this out. Hurricane Gabrielle, 1989. You can see why it was mentioned in a news story on September 6. September 5, Gabrielle peaked as a moderate Category 4 hurricane. That would have been September 6 in Australia. It's the date I keep talking about the most. September 6. And September 13. The same year as Hugo. There was a Felix back then too. On the next incarnation, Felix was the big Category 5. Maybe a few incarnations later, actually. Eventually, Felix was a big hurricane, because we're going all the way back to 1989. So, Felix was in the 2000s as a Category 5. So this is Gabriel 1989. Gabrielle. There's a lot here, man. I'm not reading all this. I'll probably come back to it later. I have a feeling I will. Hugo. Hurricane Hugo. I'm probably going to notice things later that I'm not even noticing now. September 9, 1989. The 9th of the 9th, 1989. This was the one I did know about from 1989. Hurricane Hugo. I had no idea that Gabrielle was the hurricane right before Hugo. See, this is the one that Jeff Masters almost lost his life in. And it's a good analogy. People that are into adrenaline junkies, they call them. People that are storm chasers. Well, Jeff Masters is not a storm chaser, but he did do something that would have raised his blood pressure a lot in relation to this hurricane. He was in the Hurricane Hunter aircraft that flew through Hugo. And it was on September 22 at 4 Universal Time Coordinated that Hugo made landfall on Sullivan's Island. Well, there's something I didn't know. South Carolina. At its secondary peak as a Category 4 hurricane, with 140 mile per hour sustained winds. It was its second peak. It was on September 22, a Friday. Today is Friday. Friday the 30th. 10, T-E-N. If you write it out as a word and add up the letters, 10, T-E-N adds up to 39. Angel is 39. It's Friday the 30th. It's the black moon. It's the supermoon. No light, no light. Today. Tonight. Punishment is 139. The punishment of the DJ. Bad Mirror Boy is 140. The boy who reflects. He reflects. He's reflecting. He's dreaming. Hurricane is 97. Hurricane. Mirror Boy is 133. Hurricane, 97. Boy Satan is 97. Serpent is 97. That's what they said he is. Maybe they didn't say it publicly, but you don't torture someone like that unless you've demonized them as the devil. You just don't. It's how it goes. It's just how it is. So there's consent and there's no consent. There's light and there's no light. There's God and there's the shadow of God. There's authority and there's authoritarian. The shadow of God. What is the shadow of God? It's the torturer. The torturer of the one they demonized as the devil. That is the shadow of God. So there comes a point where it gets so scary, no one would ever choose it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you might be into spanking, right? But you're not going to choose category 5, caning, because it's going to be too painful, too traumatizing, and it's going to do too much damage to you. So no one's going to choose that, you see. And it's like a meteorologist who says we're going to fly through the storm. Well, you're doing that not for the adrenaline rush in the first place. You're doing it because it's your job to gather information on the storm. Jeff Masters, you can read about his experience with Hurricane Hugo. Category 6 is a blog. Weather Underground. Category 1, Hurricane Dorian, expected to be a Cat 4 by Sunday. This is August 29, 2019, 11:33 AM, Eastern Daylight Time. So Jeff Masters almost lost his life flying through Hugo in 1989. I've known that for a long time. I read the story and I was kind of awestruck by just how lucky he and his colleagues were that they didn't die in that storm. The plane, they had to throw things out of the plane they lost altitude. The last place you want to lose altitude is flying through a Cat 5 hurricane, through the eye of the storm. 97, I said, it's the value of hurricane. Selwyn is 117. The Angel, 72. But then you can flip it. See, the boy is 75. Teenager is 75. Storm Boy is 127. But you can flip it, you see. You can flip the things. Deviant is 75. Deviant. Sadist is 72. Torture is 117. And the shadow of God becomes apparent. The beautiful boy, beautiful, is 97. Beautiful, delicious. A delicious, beautiful bad boy being tortured. Jake is 27. See, being attractive is not a crime. And having fun is not a crime. Some places make it a crime to use certain drugs, illegal drugs. They make it a crime. And some places, if you're dealing drugs, it's punishable by death. Singapore is one such place. The DJ, the prosecutors sought the death penalty. The amount of drugs he was dealing was not in excess of 0.5 kilogram, or whatever the amount is. I think it's 500 grams. And it's like, I think that's what I read. It's a question, isn't it? Like, would you rather, like, if you had the choice of dying or being held captive by a Cat 5 monster, by the one that tortured you. Like, let's just say you survive the hurricane. Rat and cane has the same value as hurricane. So let's say you are a spanker. Let's say you're into spanking, like you're into storm chasing, right? And you say, oh, all right, we're going to go out and we're going to have some fun. Okay. It might be a bit scary and it might be a bit painful. But at the end of the day, we're going to get a nice high. And it's safe and it's legal. Let's just go with that. It's legal. May not be safe. So we're going to get a high out of it. it'll be a good high. At the end, it'll be worth all the... But then something goes wrong. It's like a good analogy, I think. If it's consensual, you need good communication. It's just like storm chasing. You need good communication skills, or you could die. With spanking, you need good communication skills, or else you could damage your partner or your friend, whoever you're playing with. You could damage them if you don't communicate well. Brat Lorenzo equals 147. Brat Lorenzo, because Lorenzo is 45. Sorry, Lorenzo is 105. And Brat is 41. So Brat Lorenzo is 146. 46 is what? What equals 46? Jayton. Jayton is 46. And Demas. They're our twins. Jayton and Demas are twins. Twins in the lighthouse. They're the twins inside the lighthouse. They meet Sean Myrtle. Characters in a story. See, Jake and Nathan, they're not in our world anymore. They were forcibly taken from this world. 2 days, 8 hours since Steamboat Geezer last erupted. 2 days, 8 hours. It's weird how things happen. Never seen this one before. Young Hopeful. Young Hopeful. White. White's Dome. There's a report on Steamboat today. Quiet, steamy. Well, it isn't long since it last erupted, so... Quiet boil in clear, steamy pool. A message through the Steamboat Geezer, that's what I was thinking. But the boy in my dreams said you could do worse than to consider. 147 is the value of my name. 148 is the Dark Tower. The Dark Tower. London. Hey man,